All right, what's going on, everybody? All two of you guys waiting right now. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Bait Shop Talk Live. It's just me and Bubba tonight. Bubba,
What's what's up, everybody? We're back with another one here. It's what is this, like episode 6, 7, something like that?
we're on six. It's going by pretty good. We're doing all right.
All right. Yeah, man, we're back for another one. Flying without that sometimes friend of ours, Timmy. I think he's gonna be chiming in on the chat though. He's got some family obligations going on, so he'll be around in spirit and working with us as best he can.
Yeah, we thank all y'all. We know you got the weekend and everybody's busy, and we're trying to make this, kind of able for everyone to watch it and get on here. So we appreciate those of y'all that come over here and join us on it. If anything, hey, it's an excuse to get out of the heat because it is already crazy hot here in Florida.
Yeah, you guys might notice that I'm in a different location today, and that is because I usually go from my front porch, which is like a Florida room, and it is 90 something degrees outside. I ain't it's a little cooler in there, but not much. I ain't doing that today. That ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I had my air conditioning go out, and I finally got it back a couple of days ago, and it's almost a shame for me to go outside at all.
Yeah, that is I mean, of course, it only happens whenever it's working that hard, and the summertime heat. That's when the air conditioner goes out, and whenever it's wintertime, that's when your heater goes out.
Right. Oh, man, I never thought I'd look forward to winter. All right, I guess we'll jump right into it and get into the reports. I know we ain't got a whole lot of people here right now, but the show must go on, as they say. I'm sure there'll be more people joining us as we go on. If you're watching, go ahead and throw us a shout out there in the chat. Let us know who's watching. Let us know where you're watching it from today. Uh, for me, saltwater, I have managed to go up into the creeks and do some saltwater fishing around the intercoastal and the kayak. The bait is definitely here. All the little creeks and tributaries were just full of mullet and glass minnows, and didn't see much action from trout chasing them, but the redfish were busting on them, and the small flounder are starting to make their way in. The small ones always make their way in before the big ones do. I think as more and more mullet show up and the mullet run get here later on in the summertime, that the bigger flounder start showing up. I managed to get some jacks and a stingray. I had a big redfish on. He almost spooled me, and then he came off, so that's a shame. Got a couple folks here. Good old Rusty B. He's always usually with us. We thank you for being with us again tonight, Rusty B. And get out of the house and go fishing from Orange Park. I just came through your neck of the woods, man, coming up from Green Cove. And that's really all I got for the saltwater report. The Kingfisher here. I'm trying to get my big boat out. It'll be the first time on Dinsmore Outdoors y'all ever see me do offshore fishing. So definitely looking forward to that. And I just ordered a Pin Fierce 2, the 8,000 series. So now I'm going to have a big spinning rod. Yeah, big spinning rod to go catch some big bull reds and maybe a shark.
Yeah, that's serious there. What's up, Rusty? And yeah, Orange talking about Orange Park. I was over there fishing that area yesterday. I put in Juliana Creek and ran across the river. But yeah, I mean, I can say the same about the saltwater stuff. Couple of times that I've been in like brackish creeks that are a little bit salty, seen a bunch of bait showing up and a bunch of slot reds. I hadn't caught any flounder or anything like that, but I hadn't been out in like the main river, where it's super salty yet for that kind of stuff. That's probably going to get into some more saltwater stuff this summer though, because it is so hot that bass fishing can get kind of hard on that. So we'll be, I'm sure I'll drag Joe out there in my boat at some point, and we'll hit like the little creeks and oyster beds and stuff too. Bass fishing, it's the main river, where we're at. So some of you guys might be local, like him in Orange Park, and I know a lot of you guys that watch this are mostly Florida, but a lot of down south stuff. The main river, the St. Johns River, is where we are, and the salinity's been real high for, I don't know, like a month or so. Running farther south than normal. But it looks like we're finally seeing the benefit of all the heavy rain we've been getting here recently. It looks like it's coming back down. I went out yesterday poking around the northern St. Johns, and it was a pretty good day. I was only out to about noon. I think between me and Tim, we caught 8, 9 bass, something like that. 3 of them were over 3, but they're skinny for summertime. So they would have been 5 pounders if it was earlier in the year. But we saw a lot of vegetation that we hadn't been seeing uh, recently. This far north, where we're still getting into some of that saltwater, will kill off stuff. One of the places me and Joe fish a lot has hydrilla and eelgrass, and we like to work those grass lines a lot. But we went out to one of those spots not too long ago, and it was like a wet desert out there. There was no vegetation at all because the salinity's been so high. But yesterday I saw some of that stuff coming back. Saw a ton of duckweed everywhere, which I haven't seen that around here since last year. And I saw some new lily pads popping up in places that we hadn't seen any before, or in a long time anyway. And it was, some of those good flat lily pads that we don't get often either. We get those freaking, whatever those ones called that stand up out of the water that like to snag everything that you try to throw into it.
Spatter dock. We call them spatter dock pads.
I call them a pain in the butt.
Right.
But I saw some of those flat ones popping up over there in the Julian Creek area, which I hadn't seen those over there in a long time. But a bunch of duckweed. So that's got me thinking that the salinity is running down, and the bass bite was real good, even though it was hot. Water temp was 88 degrees, and it stayed good bite through midday. So that new vegetation popping up is thinking me got the salinity is coming down. I'm hoping that it's going to be picking up as far as bass goes. Now, summertime fishing gets tough. That's some of these bass reports coming up whenever that water temp it was 88 yesterday. It's going to be up 90 plus here probably this week because it's going to be mid 90s air temp all week. So it's probably going to be 90s water temp, and it can get difficult bass fishing in 90s water temp. But we'll talk about some of those things a little bit later on. But saltwater, is looking up. We might be doing some more of that here. Freshwater is looking up as well. I mean, it's tail end of June actually pretty good. Usually, whenever it starts to slow down for freshwater, and it's actually pretty good to me.
Yeah, my experience on the river is a little bit different than yours. Y'all were getting them back in a creek. We had a tournament there out at Julian Creek. Me and my partner ran south. We went to Green Cove and fished our way back up. Couldn't find, went to, was it Tapoy Creek? And the water, it was just real choppy. We couldn't go where he was catching them good before. And only bass that we caught were in the main river. And they were all on docks. We had one dock we caught 4 bass off of, out of one dock. So, and then the tournament ended up being won on docks, except for it was in Doctor's Lake that ended up being one for bass fishing. But it's definitely tis the season for night fishing. I'm going to start looking into some gear. I'm going to start looking into some gear to add lights to the GoPro so I can start doing night fishing more. And I'm probably going to be getting more into the salt. I don't have any tournaments for July at all. Actually, we don't even have any tournament till the end of August. So I'm gonna have a lot of free time, and I really want to get after the saltwater fishing more. So it looks like we're gonna be relying more on Bubba for the freshwater reports. Sorry, man.
That's all right. I can't stop. I got the bug. I'm not gonna quit. I'll do it year round, even when it's tough. Sosta MSP, what's up, buddy? Hey, man, drop me. Tell me where you're from too. We always like to check in with everybody, see where they're watching from. Thanks, man. Thanks for the sub, dude. Check out Joe too. He puts up a lot more content than I do. We fish together all the time. I'm kind of lazy about uploading stuff, honestly.
Not here lately.
but yeah, we're probably gonna do some more saltwater. But I will always, I won't quit with the freshwater. I'll do it year round. I'm up at all kinds of weird hours. I'll probably try to get some lighting going, some LEDs on the boat and stuff like that too. It is the nighttime fishing is this time of year because it's so freaking hot.
Right, and we're definitely. I want to plan a trip for you and me to go do some night fishing out there at Kingsley, where the Giants are at. Hopefully, we can at least get lucky and maybe snag one or something. I don't know. Last time it wasn't too good. At least, if we go at night, we won't have to worry about the water skiers as much.
Yeah, it's everything's going to be getting skinny in the summertime. But if they're going to be big anywhere, it's probably going to be in there.
Right, and Also night fishing while saltwater. I definitely want to get you, me, and Tim, and whoever else we can get, and do a nighttime shark fishing expedition off the beach. I think that'd be awesome. Like bring a pop up tent, some pizza, some beverages, and just make a night out of it. Definitely
Somebody
some
you're gonna
lanterns. And I got some shark tags. It'll be good times.
be running us off thinking we're hobos trying to live on the beach out there.
Nah, nah. There's people fish out there all the time. My uncle used to patrol it back in the day, but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
But I'm at 100 videos now, guys. I've had 100 videos put up. I didn't even know it. I was looking at it today, and I'm like, wow, I've hit 100 videos being put up on YouTube. And I think I got a couple weekdays off coming up here next week, and I want to do kind of like a tribute video to that. And I'm going to go to where my very first fishing video was, and I'm going to go back to Simpsons Creek. So I'm looking forward to putting the kayak in there and going to take that big giant shark rod with me because, believe it or not, last time I was there, I hooked into like a 5 foot black tip that came spiraling out of the water and broke me off. I mean, it was either a black tip or a spinner shark, but either way, I'm going to take that big shark rod, see if I can either hook that or a tarpon. I haven't heard any reports of tarpon coming in close, but I know they're out there. So I'll take either one of those. Never hooked the tarpon and never caught a shark in the creek. So that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about tarpon yet either. They're coming, but I haven't heard anything about them yet either. Hey, real quick before we get into why you haven't been uploading a whole lot of videos here lately, I know we've been talking about it all spring and winter long about us doing some of those weekday tournaments, and we haven't even brought that up. We need to get out on some of those, but one of the things keeping us from that is why you haven't been uploading a bunch of videos here lately. What's up with the boat, man?
Yeah. That's only part of the problem of why there hasn't been that much content coming from me here lately. It's just you guys, you ever have that time in your life when you like have all these goals and stuff you're gonna do, and then life happens? Well, that's what's been happening to me. I knocked out like 3 videos at one day, only to find out the external mic I had on my camera died. So it was basically just me on a video doing that. Just like you can hear no voice, you just heard white noise and me pointing at things and talking. So all that video was for naught. Lost that. Uh, the boat should be back next week. It seems like it's always next week. It's always next week. Every time I call them, it had to be rebuilt all over again because the guy that originally did the power head swap on it did a terrible job,
He
and he
did
hooked
about
up the
half of
oil
it.
lines backwards. Yeah,
Ooh, ooh.
yeah, and that's why all the pistons on the starboard side burned up. Every single piston had to be replaced. It all had to be bored out, and I had to buy new rods. So it ended up costing me $3,500. And then the air conditioner went out in my house, and like we were saying, it's summertime in Florida. The air conditioning in Florida is a necessity during the summer, and that was $890. So basically, I had no money to go fishing. Life has to come first, priorities, right? So I made the best out of a bad situation. I got a Rode external mic for my DSLR camera, and recently put up a video. It was either yesterday or the day before of my kayak doing over a 1 year overview on it, things that's wearing out on it, and stuff that's holding up, and just how that Vibe Sea Ghost is doing. If you haven't checked that out, go to my channel and be sure to look at that to see how that Vibe Sea Ghost is holding up. And I just shot a video last night in the pond doing drop shotting for bluegill. So I gotta put all that together, edit it, and I should have that up next week. But like I said, my bad luck continues, and at the end of the night, when I was getting ready to finish, I lost one of my rods in the pond, and I dropped it. So I thought I was gonna go back, get a rattle trap, drag the bottom. Well, unfortunately for me, when I dropped the rod, it was rigged with a live cricket on there. So I'm thinking maybe a bluegill might have grabbed the cricket. Now he's down there in my pond dragging that rod around because I looked for an hour trying to get that pole back. I even drug the kayak anchor. So I can't win for losing right now, and I really hope that my luck starts to turn around I can start getting content up. And I'm really looking forward to getting some saltwater videos up because I know a lot of my subscribers love seeing those saltwater videos. And now it's the season to do it. July, summertime, saltwater bites really getting going. The redfish are getting more active, and the bigger flounder will start moving in too. So
Man,
there's my run of bad luck. I can't win for losing, and I'm hoping I'll get the boat back next week, and she'll be under warranty still for a little while. I had an actual Mercury dealer rebuild it this time, so hopefully I can get another couple years out of it before I have to do any kind of major repairs. I really hope that's the case.
That's bad whenever you lose a rod in your own pond, man. I mean, at least you go out there and look around for it. You'll be out there with a snorkel just swimming around your own pond looking for it.
That's exactly what I'm going to be doing too. I even got scuba tanks if things get serious.
We'll be D Almightying it up over here. Look, I found some pond treasure out in Dinsmore.
Hey, there's also a square bill crankbait out there. Yeah, Rusty, 8,000 series reel. That's a big reel, man. I can't wait to get it. Be also my slash cobia rod too when I go offshore.
Yeah, that's pretty serious there. Yeah, that's pretty serious. That's a big one. That's gonna. Well, summertime. Yeah, like we keep saying, that's the time if we want to do some saltwater offshore stuff. It's been good. Saltwater reports have been really good everywhere. Offshore's been great. We just had our few day snapper season going. And everybody is constantly reporting in on how many red snapper they're catching. They can't catch other stuff. I mean, saltwater's looking real good. Freshwater is going to get more difficult. Summertime in Florida, whenever water temps they're going to hit 90s this week. 88 yesterday. They're going to hit the 90s this week. And freshwater, for water temp, what happens, as much as anything, like they're like us, man. It sucks when it's hot. They don't want to move around as much. But on top of that, the oxygen level in the water goes down. So they're not getting as much oxygen out of the water. So they're kind of holding stuff. They're not roaming as much. They're not chasing as hard. It did seem like a lot of that yesterday where I was catching all those fish. Not as much movement stuff unless you hit it early morning. It's going to be a lot of pitching, flipping. If you're fishing somewhere that's real hot like this, like a lot of the rest of the country, and some of you guys that are even farther up north, like we just had on last episode, our Canadian buddy,
Right.
it's gonna be getting hotter up there, coming up. So it's not there yet, but when it does, they're gonna start holding stuff. Like one of my favorite, everybody talks about topwater in the summer. One of my favorite things to do is hit lily pads with topwater. Like we were talking about earlier with salinity, with all the vegetation, they're going to be holding stuff like hydrilla, eelgrass, because all this kind of plants are making oxygen. So that's going to be, as much as anything, like the cool parts of the water, they're going to hold the parts of the water that have the most oxygen as well. And then, what we're good at in Florida, what everybody in Florida does, is we just abuse docks, and docks are shade. That's going to be the cool spots. So deep docks is another real good one. Summertime, it seems like it's a lot of close quarters fishing unless you're getting into deep water. It's something we both want to get better at, is deep water offshore fishing. Still haven't done a whole lot of it. We kind of try it here and there and get frustrated real quick and then quit doing it. But I think we keep talking about going to Kingsley. I think part of our plan going to Kingsley is there's nowhere else to go. Once you're in there, like if they're not shallow, we're going to have to fish deep all day, and it's going to make us better at it. We gotta just go do it and stick to it until we get better at it. But it's so hard in the summertime whenever you get to like pitch and flipping docks and stuff like that. It's so fun to me.
Yeah. So speaking of topwater, if you guys didn't know, I just got home. The reason I was in Green Cove Springs because I had a pro staff meeting with Vexen. They had all the pro staff from North Florida meet there, and they were showing some new stuff that Vexen's going to be coming out with. And of course, I'll pass that along to you guys. They already have some rod and reels. Some rod and reels. Of course, they got rods, Vexen rods, for God's sakes. They already have some reels, but they're going to be coming out with some more higher end ones. They're also going to be coming out with tournament weigh bags, and they're doing a line of lures, believe it or not. They got frogs, which is what Bubba's going to love.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
they're going to be coming out with crankbaits and spinner baits, buzz baits, and I think you said possibly a swim jig. So looking forward to getting my hands on some of those. And also they have a new line of rods that they're calling their Strike Back series, which I so happened to pick up one today because I couldn't resist. And this is a medium action, and it's still made out of the same good stuff. It's just less composite, more glass, which means it has a lot more action. This is a medium action, which is great for top water. Florida, we love throwing devil horse and like stick top water stick baits like that. And when that medium action, this is really good for it. And also jerk baits when the water cools off, which is also what a good medium action is for. And I like a split grip. Some people like a solid grip, but for some reason I really like a split grip on mine.
I like a
And
split grip too.
right. And what's really cool about the Strike Back series rods, these are Vexen listens to us, they listen to their consumers, and they know not everybody can go out and afford a $140 fishing pole. And you got a lot of people that like to pond hop and fish out of kayaks and things like that. Yeah, and they have any neon colors. Yeah, yeah, they do. They got some pretty cool looking stuff. But so this is a lower price point rod, so that way it gets more people out there fishing. And Vexen donates a lot of these to youth and child programs. Like Mike Iaconelli has the inner city thing for kids. Vexen donates a lot of these rods for those inner city kids to get out there and go fishing.
You know how much those run?
I believe these are like $89.
That's not bad at all.
Right, and you get the combo with the reel on here too for 140. So you're getting a rod and a reel for the price of only one rod, regular Vexen rod.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Talking about medium top water, and also you mentioned jerkbait rods. I just picked up a casking rod. It's the first one of theirs I've gotten. You guys know if you've seen this before, I'm a fan of their reels. I'm notoriously cheap, and I like their reels. Their reels are higher quality than the price point on it. I picked up a one of their Speed Demon rods here. It's a 6'8" medium jerkbait rod. It's a fast tip on it, and I got it specifically with the idea of skipping Senkos. And yeah, medium's perfect for that. Fast tip's perfect for it. But what Joe was telling me, or maybe think of, was a lot of times you hear people missing hook sets on frogs, and a lot of that's the wrong rod. Oftentimes it's the wrong rod. I mean, there's a lot to it with hook set on it as well, but a lot of times people are using the wrong rod. I like to throw top water on a medium rod. If it's a medium heavy, I like it a little more flimsy. But I like to throw top water on a medium rod because it's a little better hook set on it because it's got that little bit more play into it.
Pretty much anything with treble hooks, you want something with medium action. That way you're not pulling it away from them or ripping the smaller hooks out of their mouth. It gives them more time to grab it.
Well, you're getting into like different types of rods with stuff like that too, like cranking rods, stuff with treble hooks. Like I like to throw a lipless or a crankbait, or even like I throw chatterbaits on a medium heavy, but I throw them on composite rods because they've got more of that whippy kind of medium action to it. The same thing, because you don't want to rip it out of their mouth as soon as you feel it. So I like composite rods. That's why you see a lot of times you'll see like a lot of different rods with specific uses listed on them, and it's for stuff like that where like a cranking rod is usually going to be fiberglass or composite. It's usually going to be a little bit lighter action, so you're not pulling something with treble hooks away from them. So that's a good point. But a lot of people will see like different types of specific use rods and not know the difference between them. And there's a reason for that, and that's a good example of like why there is a cranking rod, because it's usually either composite or fiberglass, and it's got more play into it, got more of a parabolic bend than something that you're going to be like pitching with, which is going to be stiffer, more of a tip. Because you're trying not to rip those treble hooks out. Something that's moving real fast like that, the tendency is you feel it stop rattling and you set the hook on it, and you oftentimes will pull something like a lipless out of their mouth because that doesn't have that kind of play to it that those cranking rods do.
Right. At the same time, though, like the reason Vexen doesn't put on their rods, cranking rod or worm rod or something like that, and they just list it as the action to it because they don't want people getting the idea of that rod's only for cranking or this rod's only for using for worms. Like I have medium heavy, and that's like my primary worm rod. But a lot of people would use medium heavy for throwing swim jigs or uh, not vibe tails, chatterbaits and things like that. But so that way people don't get hung up of thinking that this rod's only for this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had the same kind of feeling. Like I don't like when they list the specific type because people do think that like it's only for this, or like the that Enigma I have, it says like pretty much it says top water, Carolina rig, pitching, flipping, it says like you could do everything on it, where you could do most things with which different types of rods. But just for if you guys watching that don't know, there's different types of rods that work better in different situations, and it might not be legal. Like most of the rods I have don't have that type listed on it. They'll just say the action. So but a lot of it is the right tool for the right job. So it's kind of do some research before you buy any rod, and what you have in mind, what you want to use that rod for. If you see like pros with a million rods on their boats, there's usually a reason for it. Or like when we went yesterday, I think I brought 5 or 6 rods. But and that's with something as much as anything, you so I don't have to retie over and over again, but I got everything tied on like a different type of rod because I'm trying to use the right tool for the right job.
Kind of like using a medium heavy to go punching.
Yeah, that was a heavy. I was using a heavy, but but yeah, I mean that one was not the right tool for the right job, but it did work.
As long as it works, that's what matters.
Yeah.
How do you determine your drag on like depending on what lure you use? Is that is that how you determine your drag, or what do you do?
Okay. Well, I've recently changed up how I do it. As doing a lot of bass fishing, most of us, we set the drag and we pull it and we go off feel, and it's like, okay, that's good. Whenever like I've fished so much brackish water that I think I said on the last one or even earlier this one, I was bass fishing. I thought I was bass fishing, and I got broke off by 3 reds in a row, 3 slot reds in a row. Caught a couple of them, and I got broke off by 3 on it was 12 or 14 pound fluoro. And that's usually plenty for bass fishing. Like even if I would have cranked the drag down all the way, I probably wouldn't have broken it off fishing for bass. But oftentimes with us here, it snatches, something like a red will pick it up and snatch it off. And I lost 3 in a row like that. I snapped a rod on like a 4-pounder, and kind of all that stuff stacking up is like, man, I need to rethink this drag thing, I think. And so I've started recently setting it off a scale. They general rule of thumb is 25% of your line weight is what you want your drag pound set at. And most of like your regular like bait caster stuff are going to have like a 17-pound drag, 18-pound drag. So that usually if you're doing something like 14-pound leader, that's going to work out to like 3-4 pounds depending on your leader weight. So what you do is, the way that I started doing it here recently is I will put my rod in a rod holder at like a 45-degree angle, put my scale on the other end and pull till the drag slips, and then adjust from there. And, forever I was just going, set the drag, pull it. Okay, that feels good. Until I lost, so many fish in a row like that, broke a rod, breaking on leaders. Like it wasn't breaking on the knot, snapping the middle of the leader. I'm like, all right, I got to rethink this. So that's how I've started doing it here recently. How do you do it?
I do it. It depends. Like I do it by what lure I'm using is one way, and then also for what species I'm going after. Species is more towards the saltwater side. Freshwater is usually 9 times out of 10 it's bass. If I'm throwing something that it has a stiff hook that I really need to get into that draw that fish, like a worm or a jig, or I'm throwing in like really heavy cover and I need them to come out, I don't need any line to slip, and I crank that drag as tight as I can go. I don't, usually I'm throwing braid 90% of the time anyway, so I crank it as tight as I can go. Now, on the other scope of that for bass, if I'm throwing anything with treble hooks or light wire stuff, like even worm, same thing with worm hooks or a jig that has a light wire, then I back it down some. The reason I do that is because one, if it's a light wire single hook, like a jig or a worm, you don't want to bend the hook out. And two, if you're doing treble hooks, you don't want to slam it and then rip the hooks right out of their mouth. So, and also when you go to fight them, when they go to make that run and that dive down, when that last minute when they see the boat, you want them to take the line. You don't want them to rip the hooks out themselves. That's why you see a lot of guys, they'll get a bass up to the fish, or they'll get a bass up to the fish. They'll get a bass up to the boat, and they're sitting there and they're trying to grab him. They're trying to grab him, and then they just hold the line. They'll grab the line to pull him up to him. Well, then the bass shakes, and there's no kind of slack or no play in that line or give to keep those hooks from getting ripped out. That's why if you're going to land a fish without a net, use the rod as a shock. Let that rod absorb and take that line and keep it tight and let it flex. That way, when he shakes his head, the rod's still keeping it tight, but giving enough slack or enough less tension to those hooks don't get ripped out. And I also said by the species that I go after, sea trout. Sea trout have really thin mouths.
Yes, they do.
If you crank your drag all the way down on like something with just a shrimp and a mud minnow and a jakehead or something like that, you crank that all the way down on a sea trout and set the hook like you would a bass, you're never going to hook a sea trout unless they completely swallow it, because you're going to be ripping their lips every time. So if you guys remember, if you're local and you remember watching Kingery fish around here, he'd have like a 2-pound sea trout, but that thing be screaming drag like it was 8-pound, 9-pound gator trout. That's because he would loosen that drag, so when he set the hook, it wouldn't rip the lure out of his mouth. And same thing when they made a run and used that current to fight, it wouldn't rip the hook out. So I do the same thing. Same thing for guys that fish for crappie, speckled perch, wherever you want to call them, sac-a-lait for those folks out there in Louisiana. Real thin paper mouths. So that's like the two things that set me up. And the way I set the drag is I don't pull it from the reel. Like, here's your bait cast reel. I don't pull it directly from the reel. I grab it from the end of the rod, which is what the fish is going to do, and go by off of that. I don't pull it from the reel because it's a major difference when you add that rod and those eyes into play.
Which actually that goes back to, what we're just talking about, like rod action too. Material of the rod and everything. That's going to be like a 4-pound, if you swap a reel from one rod to the other, it's going to be different because of the action and the eyes, the line, and, the rod tip, what the rod's made out of, stuff like that. But you had a couple of good points there. If like I know a lot of inshore saltwater fishermen here don't like targeting yellowmouth trout. I do because I love the way they taste and they're fun. But they're also called weak fish, and they're called weak fish because the mouth is so weak, is actually why they're called weak fish.
I didn't know that.
Yep, that's actually why they're called weak fish, is because the mouth is so paper thin, it's so easy to rip a hook out of it. But another good point you made too is what you're fishing cover. Yeah, because we do so much dock fishing here. I will go a little bit heavier. I'll go like 30% on one that I'm pitching to docks and stuff like that, because I don't want them, I want to be able to horse them out of a dock pretty quick, instead of them, pulling me under the dock, hitting, barnacles and crap on the dock and snapping that leader. So yeah, that's a couple good points there. I will run a little bit heavier drag on rods that I'm fishing docks with than if it's something like you were saying, like treble hooks, lipless, stuff like that. I run a little bit lighter because I don't want to rip it out of their mouth, and also it's usually open water. You can get away with a little bit better there. But yeah, that's saltwater. I'd crank that crap down.
Yeah. Well, even then, like I get a big redfish on, I don't really crank it down because the same aspect of what I was talking about with a bass eater. They got so much power with that big, broom tail they got. They can either pull the hook and just rip it right out, or they'll end up breaking a rod if they're in close quarters if you ain't careful.
Yeah, they will. Like you were talking about diving down next to the boat. I've broken rods on like medium heavies on inshore saltwater fishing reds where, you bring them all the way up to the boat, good slot red, or, decent sized red. Bring them all the way in pretty easy. They hit the boat, and they're pound for pound a lot more powerful than like bass are. And when they see the boat, they'll take off and run the other direction. And I've had it go snap.
Yeah, I wish we could catch a bass that was like 48 inches long. That'd be freaking epic.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I've recently because of redfish have caused me to rethink how I've set my drag. Now I know it's kind of weird how I end up a lot of times in brackish water where I catch both in the same spot. So I'm doing it on bass equipment. I'm fishing with bass lures and stuff like that. So that's what's had me rethinking how I set my drag here recently.
There's a lot of good bass lures you can use for saltwater. Like a lot of people adapted spinner baits to catch redfish and flounder on it by putting a
I
swim bait on it instead of a skirt.
Yeah, I love a redfish magic. I mean, that's a popular redfish spinner bait. But all it is like a gold blade spinner bait with a paddle tail on it. But I love fishing redfish magics. I keep saying, and where I lost one, keep saying that I want to get a gold bladed chatterbait and redfish with it. I don't see any reason it shouldn't work. And I saw one that snapped me off. I saw one chasing bait and I threw it in there. I mean, he probably would have hit anything I threw at him. But so they will hit a chatterbait. But I want to try a gold bladed chatterbait for redfish. I don't. Yeah, I mean they'll probably eat a goldfish too. Yeah, they probably eat a goldfish too. But yeah, I want to try a gold bladed chatterbait for it. But man, I've caught reds on jigs. I've caught them on freaking weightless lizards on top water. I've caught them on worms. Yeah, there's plenty. Like there's a lot of stuff they will hit, but there's a lot that transfer over like ideally from bass to saltwater stuff.
Something I would think that would kill in saltwater, and I don't know why I've never seen anyone do this yet, is an Alabama rig. I mean,
yeah,
that's where they're chasing schooling mullet and schooling bait. So an Alabama rig in saltwater, you think would be freaking perfect.
Like, now that you say that, I'm amazed that I've not caught one on that live target bait ball yet, because I throw that thing a good bit in brackish water.
I think that's something I want to try. I tried it last year. There was no fish at the location I was at. It was a deep hole that I usually go to, and either there's sea trout in there, there's not. And that day I took the Alabama rig out. There was not any sea trout, but I am definitely going to try that this year. Throwing that and try to get something saltwater. If I could find one that's like a little bit more finesse, not so much the bait ball like you're talking about, but like right. Like maybe a 4-way instead of a 5.
Yeah, that's a good point too. They make a lot of different size ones. You might have to do some looking around to find them, but there's a lot of different regulations, like state to state, on using stuff like Alabama rigs, like how many hooks you can have and how big they could be and crap like that. So you could probably find one in that size. If some of you guys hear the term Alabama rig and know that it's not legal where you're at, or where you have to find like a weird one for where you are because they vary so much. If you haven't seen that live target bait ball, check that out. It's like the size of like a big spinner bait. That thing is sweet, dude. I love it. My wife actually got it for me for Christmas last year, and I've had to replace the little paddle. Like they've got like little 1.5 to 2-inch paddle tails on them, but there's like 4 of them, and one of the bottom one's on a jig head. It's a little bit bigger, and there's like a silver blade in the middle of it. It looks just like a little pack of schooling bait fish going along, and I like to give it like a little snap, little character every once in a while. It looks like the school is darting around. But man, I love that thing. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out. That thing is pretty sweet.
Yeah, you're paying for it too. I think it's like $14-15.
Yeah, I've definitely got $14-15 worth of fishing out of it. I've used that thing, the same one, since Christmas last year.
That's a good deal. You think are we going to get you in a kayak and saltwater this year or what?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? I mean, it's I started out whenever I first bought my kayak, I was doing it all the time. I was dumping in like Mill Cove all the time with it. That's when you went out to Mill Cove, that's how I knew where to tell you where to go, because I'd put in that same boat ramp. And go to Mill Cove and fish those docks for flounders and reds all the time.
Yeah. Get out of the house and go fishing. Said nice to troll with too. Yeah, that'd be a pretty good idea. Just troll with it. You probably get some good fish doing that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they would let you know that they was on there. And what I figured it was too is if I threw it, sea trout are schooling fish. So if you got, and I've had them follow another one up to the boat. you could have a chance of catching like 2 or 3 sea trout on one go around.
Yeah.
If you're fishing for groceries like I do when I go saltwater fishing, that's not a bad problem to have.
No, not at all. Yeah, the man, talk about catching multiple fish in saltwater. We missed it this year. Spanish mackerel run. I like catching multiples of those at the same time, running, like a mackerel tree, and that's you get 2, 3 of those at the same time, man. That's groceries in a hurry right there.
Yeah, that was the video where I got the seagull and he had the fishing line all around him. That was supposed to be a Spanish fishing trip for me, but they just weren't far enough inside the inlet, and the waves are too bad for me to get out there in the kayak. And I was all
Yeah.
by, I didn't have no friends with me or nothing, so I wasn't about to do that. And I decided to play it safe and stay in the inlet. But I'm sure they're still out there. I'm sure if you went out there with a spoon, you could come across a school of them somewhere.
Yeah, you can find them for sure. It's not you hit sometimes when they run through here, they get so heavy that you can't throw anything in the water without hitting one in the head almost. But yeah, I'm sure you can still find some out there.
Yeah,
But
and the kingfish should be coming in on the beach right now too. I know they're catching them. I just don't know how close in that they're coming in. I don't know. I haven't heard anyone catching any at the pier yet or anything.
right. Well, talking about kayak and saltwater, just kayaking in general, what do you typically carry on the kayak?
Well, like saltwater and freshwater, I really have two different setups. It seems like I take more with me when I go saltwater fishing. But for gear wise, I usually have anywhere from 3 to 4 poles. I have my little igloo cooler that has the rod holder on the back. One of them's dedicated to hold the GoPro camera. I have a little Gander Mountain tackle bag that has 3 tackle trays in it, and one of them's for hard baits, one of them's for soft baits like your DOA gulp shrimp and stuff like, or DOA shrimp, things like that. And then one of them's terminal tackle, hooks, sinkers, weights, slides, things like that. And then, of course, I got my minnow bucket, my little minnow bucket I hang over the side to keep my mud minnows or mullet in. And then something you should always have with you in your console is extra food and extra water. I talked about that briefly talked about that in my kayak review I did of the Seaghost. I always keep like a bag of like a couple bags of jerky in there and a couple bottles of water. I don't touch those unless I run out, my initial stuff that I bring with me.
Unless you
And
run out of pecan swirls.
yeah, unless the pecan swirls get blown all over the boat or something on the way out. I had that problem happen to me last time. Bought a whole bag of them, ate one of them, and then the wind caught it and got blown all over the boat and emptied out.
Got the diabetes.
Oh man, I was about to cry. But so spare food, something I'm guilty of that I need to tell you guys that y'all need to do: put a first aid kit in your kayak. I need to get one in there. I was going to build my own, and like I said, finances and life and everything, I just haven't got around it. But I won't be saying that probably when I end up getting a hook in my hand or get bit by a flounder or something. My thumb's sitting there bleeding. So if you can, guys, Walmart sells little cheap first aid kits with stuff, basic stuff in it for like $12. I am wanting to be fancy, want to put my own stuff in there. So have a first aid kit definitely in your kayak. It's something we all need to do. Of course, bring your food. You're like a sandwich and some chips or whatever to tide you over for lunch. Water. Usually, what I do is I do 2 for 1. I'll get bottles of water and I'll freeze them and I'll put them in my lunchbox. Therefore, it keeps everything in there cool, and I still got water in there too. So it's kind of like a 2 for 1 deal. Let's see here. GoPro box with GoPro batteries and different cases and memory cards because we're in the YouTube business. People want to see what you're up there doing. When I do freshwater, I don't take the tackle bag with me. I just use the 2 tackle trays that can fit down on each side. Those are usually like terminal tackle more than anything, or hard baits. And then I put all my plastics in my console, right in the middle. And in the back compartment, I got sunscreen, I got bug spray, I have a stringer just in case I, God forbid, forget my cooler or something like that. And for saltwater, I highly recommend that you put your fish in a cooler or a fish bag and don't hang them over the side of the kayak, because there are toothy critters that would love to eat your catch and might pull you in too. So you do not want to be in the water with fish blood and a hungry shark. So
Yeah.
definitely bring a fish bag or something.
When I was a kid, I would go fish like a little tiny creek every day. And I would go almost every day. I would make a stringer out of some fishing line and some sticks and hang them in the water. And I learned real quick why that was a bad idea, because I would either one of two things would happen. I would either lose all my brim to water moccasin or a gator. It would happen almost every time. So I quit doing that. But yeah, man, I've gotten real bad here. Last time I went out freshwater fishing kayak, I took a lot less with me. But I've gotten so bad about carrying so much junk in my kayak with me when I go fishing. I got to the point where like every time I was carrying something more, another tray, another box, another this, another that. And I was using like four of like the Plano 3700 series like size boxes full of tackle stuff, and I was like, man, this is just too much. So I really downsized that here recently. Talking about like food stuff, what I do, I'm famous for my the way he is with his pecan swirls. I bring a gallon of blue Gatorade with me everywhere I go. But I take and freeze that thing the night before. So, and same thing as like Joe was talking about, it keeps everything cool and it keeps that cool all day long. First aid stuff's probably a good idea. Definitely don't have any of that. You don't have to go as far as like you do with the boat for the regulations on it, but it's probably not a bad idea to have some fishing flares and stuff on there too. And I know I said something about it last time. One of these bad boys, take one of those with you. That's one of the little portable battery pack things. That one is 16,000 milliamp hours. It's charge your phone if you get out there somewhere stuck with it, or if you got lights or something that you could charge with it. Not a bad thing to have. But yeah, first aid kit, flare, whistle, that kind of stuff too is probably a good idea to have. I usually have a stringer with me all the time. The way I'm not as cautious about Joe on a lot of things. I just tie it on the side of the boat, throw it in the water. I mean, if that shark comes to get me, we're gonna fight it out, man.
Well, I mean, I used to be that way, and then a lot of people started commenting on the videos saying that, man, you are very, very brave to be doing that. So I said, yeah, I guess you guys make a very good point. So I stopped putting them on stringers and started putting them in the cooler instead.
Yeah, if I'm food fishing, a lot of times I'll put them in the cooler. Depending on what I'm on, like if we're like we were talking about yellowmouth earlier, I don't have room for that many yellowmouth. That's going on the stringer. But yeah, if it's a red or something, some flounder fishing, I'll throw that in the cooler. Uh, but yeah, I mean, sunscreen. I always have sunscreen and bug spray in there. Try to keep some kind of light, just in case I got stuck somewhere and ended up, in the dark, or if a lot of times because I'm up at all hours in the morning, we'll go fishing in the dark. Some kind of light with you, something that's waterproof. You can't you can't plan enough for things to go wrong, because something's always going to go wrong, and you want to be set yourself up for the best case scenario whenever something does go wrong, because God forbid it's the worst, then you end up on the news.
Yeah, and we've been having that here lately. There's
Yeah.
some people been in trouble. We had a lady not too long ago got eaten by an alligator. So it's not just sharks down here where we live. You got to watch out for nature in general.
Yeah, and while we're going here too, just a reminder, guys, if you guys got any questions, comments, anything like that, throw them in the chat. We do pay attention to the chat while it's running. Do our best to answer any questions or respond to any comments, stuff like that. Well, we got we're talking about all this saltwater fishing and stuff. We started our project, and we haven't really gotten back to it too much here lately. Chasing the slam, the Florida Bass Slam. We got to get back on that. It's going to be hard in the summer. Luckily, both of us got our big fish already. Poor Tim still doesn't have his. He might have to wait till it cools back off to get his big one. I got the SD card from him from our Santa Fe trip for the Swanee bass. And yeah, there's we didn't think at the time that it was long enough for the slam. It was, but I was using his camera because I forgot mine. And the only thing you can see when I'm measuring it on the buckboard is like the bill of my cap and like the tip of the tail. So they probably won't accept that one. Like it could be any fish that was 14 inches.
Well, the good news is that's the closest destination as far as the other species that we have to go to. So it won't be that far to go to the Santa Fe River, and
Yeah, I'm
hopefully
not.
we'll take the boat next time. We can fish more efficiently.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the Swanee bass, especially with they were easier to catch than I thought they were too. Than I thought it would be. So I'm not too worried about that one. But yeah, we got to get back on the chasing the slam. I think that should probably be our next, or at least the next one we check off the list is probably the Swanees, or gonna be the easiest.
Right, and like you were saying, it'll probably be September, October. We can do that, and then we got to really start looking and really heavy at going to the Chipola to catch the shoal bass, and we're going to have to get them because time's going to be running out.
Yeah, yeah, that's we got to get back on track with that whenever it starts to cool off a little bit. Yeah, thank goodness we got the 8 pound plus out of the way because that ain't gonna happen till wintertime again.
Right, and you overshot the 8 pounder for sure on yours.
11-2.
11-2. God, I would love to catch a double digit.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fish of a lifetime. I don't know if 10 plus pounders don't come too often, and luckily in Florida they come more often than a lot of the other places in the country. But
short of
I don't
California.
right, and yeah, Texas gets some nice ones, but yeah, I mean the double digits don't come very often, and I don't know if it'll be a long time before I beat 11-2 if I do.
Right, right. Well, guys, if while we're doing this, we're starting to run towards the end of it. If you got any questions you want to ask or anything you want to, share with other people, please go ahead over to the chat section. If you got any questions or want to know anything about the gear or rigs or places we go ahead and leave it over there in the chat section. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Like I said, we're a man short. Timmy couldn't be with us tonight. So me and Bubba will do the best we can. And you got any comments for future subjects you would like to see, go ahead and leave that over there too. I know Get Out of the House and Go Fishing, he likes to fish St. George or Fort George Inlet a lot, just like I do. And I'm debating about going back there pretty soon. It was a couple years ago. I remember I fished there at incoming tide, and there were schools of black drum coming up on the sandbars, and they were almost like how you see reds or bonefish in the flats and the keys. I think that's the closest thing we got to it up here in Jacksonville. And you could see them going in schools, nosing down in the sand when it got high tide to get on those sandbars to get fiddler crabs and look for shrimp and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool staying up in the kayak and throw at them until a bunch of paddleboarders came right over the top of them, scared them all off.
Yeah, they I used to fish over there a lot with my dad when he was alive, and you can catch a little bit of everything out there too, man. I've caught tarpon out there, sharks, angelfish, freaking, all kinds of gray mangrove snapper, vermilion. I mean, just everything in there. You can catch freaking everything out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
got
a little bit farther in, I've caught a bunch of big black drum out there too.
Yeah, we got something from our good friend Rusty B. Is anyone here subscribed to Lucky Tackle Box or Mystery Tackle Box? I can't speak for Lucky Tackle Box, but I know me and Bubba both were members of Mystery Tackle Box, and I believe, Bubba, you're still a member, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm still a member of Mystery Tackle Box. They just recently reworked their website. I know I mentioned it to Joe, I think earlier this week. Mystery Tackle Box just redid their website. They're carrying a little bit more variety of stuff now. Price point on it was what we were talking about before they did it. We were gonna look and see if they were carrying all of their own Catch Co stuff and stuff like that. It's kind of what we expected, but there is a lot more other stuff on there. Price point's pretty competitive. It's not better. It's not worse than buying it in a store or buying it on Amazon or something like that. One of the good things about with them though that I will say is like you can add it to your box that you're getting every month and you get free shipping on it. They just throw it in with that. I have had a good experience. Like I think Joe canceled his before I started mine, so I've had my Mystery Tackle Box running after he has. I've had a good experience with them on what I've gotten. The good and the bad side is that it kind of it might not always apply to you geographically. Like I don't use a lot of hard baits. Soft plastic is king in Florida. I get the bass box. I've never got like the saltwater box or anything like that, but I get the bass box, and soft plastic is king in Florida. So I get, a hard bait with every box, and a lot of times I don't use them just because I don't use a whole lot of hard baits. But this last one was pretty good. The one before that had like a nighttime chatterbait in it, and I'm going to use that. I've had a good experience with them though. I do like it. It's the price on their other stuff in the store now is pretty competitive. I'll probably use it for stuff like that. Like I was looking at chatterbaits on there today, and they're running $3, $4, $5 range for like the standard chatterbaits, which is about normal.
Yeah, see, I had a different view of it when I got it. I started noticing in those boxes, I started getting a lot more Catch Co stuff versus, things like you really wanted, like Lucky Craft or, Strike King, or actually, name what I would consider name brand stuff that I was looking forward to. So, like, I was like, okay, I'm paying all this money, but I'm getting more of their stuff than the stuff that I'm wanting. And then I tried both boxes. I tried the freshwater for bass, and then I went and got the saltwater box, and then I went back to freshwater after the saltwater box, and they were selling like knockoff, DOA shrimps and stuff like that for the saltwater box. Of like I could take this amount of money and go to Walmart or go to Dick's and get the stuff that I really want for the same price and about get the same amount of lures actually.
Yeah, my experience has been since I started with them that it's kind of a mix. Usually, you'll get a couple of bags of soft plastics in there every time, and usually one of them is like name brand, and one of them is like either Catchco or Net Bait or something like that. And then usually the hard baits are pretty good. I mean, you get some of their kind of hard bait stuff, but I've gotten a lot of like the name brand kind of hard bait stuff that since I've started with them that I like. So it's been kind of a mix for me since I've been with them.
Well, we must be getting big time. I must be starting to become a bigger YouTube because we just got our first troll in the chat over there in the chat room. It was Mr. Gunder Muffin or whatever, and he was talking some ridiculousness. So I kicked him out, and apparently he didn't like it and gave us a thumbs down on it. Oh,
Oh well. Hey, here you go. There, check out the bottom of the cup, Mister Troll.
oh yeah, there you go, Mr. Troll.
So yeah, I mean, my experience with Mystery Tackle Box has been pretty good. It hasn't been amazing, but it's been worth the money for me.
Yeah, get out the house and go fishing, man. I'm really glad you joined us. I mean, appreciate you been, talking it up in the chat and interactive, and that's what we like, guys. We appreciate y'all watching for sure, but also we like to talk back with y'all. We like to, see what's going on in your neck of the woods. So definitely, don't be shy in the chat. We're not gonna get mad at you or anything, as long as you're not talking some nonsense. You know, like what was it? He said, he's like, yeah, I got so many lures, I'd rather just go find what I want at the store. That's right, because I'm the whole box. I might get like two that I like, and the rest of them or something I'll just give to somebody else. Just like you did, Mary. Like I got these crankbaits, I'll never throw them. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the. I'm the opposite in that. That's part of the reason I like it though is that I've got so many lures and stuff that a lot of times I'll get something random that'll get me trying something different. That's part of the reason that I like it. Just to every once in a while get something thrown at me that I don't have or don't use or something that I might try something different.
I guess I'm just stubborn, set in my ways, like the old timer that I am. I'm just like I know what I like.
Yeah, I mean, inevitably, I go out there and throw the same thing that I do every other time. But I like seeing something different every once in a while, I guess.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, guys. Well, giveaway time. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna start doing. Like, if I ever get back into mystery tackle box, uh, whatever ones I got left, I'll just put them in a box and we'll do a little random giveaway in a video. Not like a big subscriber giveaway, but like a random one and give them away to somebody. Matter of fact, was it Jack Barron? I still owe him some baits from the fish tank video. So if Jack Barron, if you're watching this, I have not forgotten about you. It's just life has gotten in the way. Lucky me.
It happens.
Right. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. It's 8 o'clock. I still have yet to cook dinner. Got to do that. Got to eat. And gotta get ready to go back to work tomorrow. I'm sure a lot of y'all gotta go back to work tomorrow. But like I said, I'll be off next week, and I'm gonna be hitting the saltwater. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe I'll catch enough fish to actually put on video, or at least catch one big one. Oh man, I can't tell you the last time I tasted redfish, and I am so ready to catch one and put it on the grill. So, from me and Bubba, we definitely thank y'all for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you for the next one. Usually, we have it every second Sunday of every month, but we can't do it the second Sunday of this month because it's Father's Day. So, we had to have respect to all the fathers and let them spend time with their families and get spoiled, hopefully, and just relax that day. Bubba, did you get spoiled and relax?
No, that's never what Father's Day is. It was pretty much sit around and cook for everybody and all that stuff. I'd have rather been fishing or something like that. Good thing my wife doesn't watch this, right? Uh, that's how it goes. I did buy myself a rod and reel for Father's Day though. So, but yeah, like Joe said, thanks for hanging out with us. It's all about community interaction. Hope to get back in the water here soon. Hope everybody's fishing is good. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and appreciate it, guys.
Right, definitely, guys, help us out. Leave us a thumbs up. Give us a like, smash that like button, helps us out. Both of us, go share. If you're watching this on my channel, go ahead and head on over to Bubba Outdoors and check out Bubba's channel. He's got a lot of interesting stuff. He's got some do-it-yourself stuff, which I know we all on YouTube love watching do-it-yourself kind of tricks. And we'll see you out there next time. I hope, like I said, next week I should have the bluegill fishing trip up, and you get to watch me lose my fishing pole there at the end of it. And I'll probably be out there with a snorkel here sometime in a couple days. And so be looking for some good stuff coming up from our channels. We'll see you out there next time. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we do more than Dinsmore. Y'all take care.
See ya.